Hello, all my bottoms up babes. This is your soul master, Kerie, taking the messiness in life, mixing it up, finding the message, and serving it to you straight. Because healing isn't linear, it's layered, and sometimes the breakdown is just the beginning of your breakthrough. Here, we honor the ache, speak the life into silence, and give the broken pieces a place to belong. This is the space where truth meets tenderness, where your story is sacred and your scars are seen. So breathe deep, open up, listen up, and let the healing begin. Hello, my bottoms up babes. This is your host, Kerie Hamilton, and here to take the messiness in life, shake it up, find a message, and serve it to you straight. Today's guest is a narrative coach, speaker, and a creator of Changed Life, a platform dedicated to helping people rewrite their stories and live in authenticity, purpose, and resilience. After surviving a devastating motorcycle accident that left him with the use of only one arm, he had to rebuild his life from the ground up as he faced disability, financial loss, and questions of his own self-worth. He's currently working on a couple books that brings his coaching philosophy into practical steps for transformation. These steps help others break free from limited beliefs. They help find clarity of who they really are, and they step boldly into the person they're becoming. His simple message states, as I quote, "You are not broken, you are becoming." Ladies and gentlemen, please let me welcome you all the way from Minnesota, Mr. Jarrett Vagle. Hello, how are you?
Doing great, Kerie.
And welcome.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me on.
Absolutely. I appreciate you and your time. And I must say, many years ago, there was a gentleman named Mike that was in my life, and he had passed away in a car accident. So ironic that you were in a motorcycle accident. But one thing I must say to you is the last few times that I had talked to you, and even now, you have an incredible smile. So don't ever stop smiling, because just like him, it literally lights up a room. And that's one thing, even though he's been passed for many, many years, I still remember that smile like it was yesterday. So never stop smiling, Jarrett.
I won't. Thank you very much.
Absolutely. So, Jarrett, take me back to the day of your motorcycle accident. Once you realized that you no longer will have, use of your arm, what was the hardest part of accepting that reality?
Well, the day of the accident, I was coming back from college. I just finished up my sophomore year, went to college down in Springfield, Missouri, and stopped in Kansas City on my way back to see some family. And then from there, I was going to be stopping in Des Moines, but those plans changed. And so I just kept going. The short story is I thought I lost my backpack, so I turned around, headed north. I was headed north on 35, Interstate 35, and there was a gas station right down the road. So I turned back around, found my backpack. It was slid over on my exhaust. I cleaned all that up, got everything back in the backpack on the motorcycle, and headed it back onto north on 35. And 1.8 miles later, the road had turned and I went straight into a tree on my right side. So I broke my shoulder blade, collarbone, another bone in my back, 3, 4, 5 metacarpals in my fist, fractured my wrist. I got a plate in there. And then I had a compound fracture in my right femur where the bone was sticking out about 6 inches.
Wow.
Was in the ditch for about half an hour to an hour before a truck driver found me. They brought me over to the local hospital, Albert Lee Hospital, and I was way too much for them. They wanted to amputate both my legs. So then they helicoptered me over to Mayo Clinic, and that's where I was there. Where they patched me up, and was there for about 2 weeks the first time, and then I went back there about a month and a half later for another surgery where they took nerves from my ribs and grafted them into my arm.
Wow.
So, yeah. Yep. So what was that second part of the question?
So I was basically asking what the hardest part of accepting, that reality was. Obviously that you didn't have access to your arm, but then you were saying about amputating your legs. So you can walk though, right? Or
Oh, yes. Yeah. There's
Okay.
nothing wrong with my left side, but the right side, because the bone was sticking out 6 inches.
Wow.
And when they put my leg back together, I lost an inch on my leg from the missing bone fragments. So when they put that back together, I had to stay off of it for probably 4 months. So I was in a wheelchair for about 3.5, 4 months, I think, before I could start putting pressure on that, because they wanted the bone to heal, and if it wasn't healing around the rod that they had in it, then they were going to have to take some bone from other parts of my body and graft that uh, into my leg. So, but nope, I learned how to run again. I learned how to do all that, the physical things. But I have both my legs.
That's awesome. That's good.
Yep, it could always be worse.
Wow. So, I mean, in this circumstance, many people would have given up at, such a devastation, especially, now you were facing basically legs and arms. What do you think gave you the strength to keep going, to rebuild?
I have to say God. Because he was my foundation.
Mhm.
And at that time, it was also the perseverance, but it was really having that faith in God, because, I should have bled to death from severing my brachial artery. I should have bled to death in I think it was 60 seconds or 90 seconds. I can't remember exactly how long it takes to bleed out from the brachial artery, but I should have been unconscious after like 10 seconds or 30 seconds. But that spasm shut.
So he had just happened to see you because he saw like a glimmer of light, basically. Like you
Yeah,
said he turned his wipers off, so it was raining, or
it had been sprinkling out. It had rained, really downpoured from Des Moines until about Clearwater, Iowa. And that's where I pulled off, and I dried off all my clothes, took about an hour and a half. Rested and dried off all my clothes, and then that's when I got back on the road. And what I say was, it wasn't raining, because I said, all right, God, if it's not raining, then I will continue on. And a little bit of drizzle here and there. I didn't consider that rain, so I just got back on the highway. And so the truck driver, he was turning his windshield wipers off. And when he was doing that, that's when he saw, a glimmer of light off into the distance. And his wife always told him, if could be anything, that might be something that you should pull over and check it out. And that's when he had pulled over, and I was in the ditch. I had taken off my helmet. I was trying to walk, and was yelling for help.
yeah. Wow.
But I don't remember any of that.
Wow. Yes,
Yeah.
because when you go through shock, for sure. So you spoke about gratitude and faith being cornerstones in your healing. What role did they play in your darkest moments as well?
They, what role did they play in my darkest moments? It was always because I could have died. And that was always in the back of my mind, because, I look at it as three different miracles that really happened. Number one, not bleeding to death from the severed brachial artery, the compound fracture where my bone was sticking out 6 inches, rolling around in the ditch, taking off my helmet, trying to get up and walk. Who knows what type of infection that I could have gotten in the bone marrow to spread all around my body.
Definitely.
And then the truck driver finding me. So I always looked at that I saw that as a miracle. And God saved me for a reason.
Absolutely.
So having that as kind of in the background, in the back of my mind, there was always that part of it. And, growing up in a Christian home, having that foundation was very helpful. Now, did I live that Christian lifestyle afterwards and have that and pursue what I should have at that time? Probably, well, no, I did. I was 20 years old, turning 21.
Yes.
And I did,
Well, a lot of people retaliate. They feel like there isn't a God, and why did God do this to me, or why, they don't look at the side that you had just mentioned, the miracles part of it, that you could have died, and the bone, and the truck driver and all of that. A lot of people retaliate when they go through such traumatic events, and they think, why me? Or they'll say things like, well, how come I didn't just die? Now my arm doesn't work, or whatever. Insert whatever negativity. And it's so easy, as we all know. I mean, negativity is all around us every day, and it's so easy to get lost in the negativity and just let it consume you. So the fact that you were able to embrace the gratitude, that counting the blessings and not the burdens, that's amazing that you can do that. And I'm sure that's part of the reason that you did survive, to be the voice to people that are still in the dark, and to say to them, there's always a blessing out of every burden that we have. You just have to see it. You have to see it through God's eyes. I always tell people, if you look at God, we see everything as a 2D, 3D dimension. We see things straight on, where you have to picture our greatest creator is looking down, so they see what's ahead, what's behind, what's around. The things that we don't see in life. So you always have to remember that you're not seeing it from every view. You're seeing it from your view. And it's different. There's a different view for everyone. Look at us two sitting behind a computer right now, and doing this Zoom. We could stand up, and in person, we're not going to look maybe the same. It's amazing that did you have a period of time where you had doubt or had darkness, or did you right away, just having that Christian background and faith in you knew that you had to just push forward? I know some people, they go through, like even myself with my trauma, I was in the darkness, and it was literally, I was on death's door facing the devil. And it was either like, you come with me through this door and you live your life with the demon, or you come through this door and you give your damn all, and you push, and you see the light, but you have to go through. It's, the only way is through. So did you go through those times, or were you like just so?
Oh no, I went through those times. You see, I think that there was two parts of the gratitude. I think that there was the outside gratitude that I displayed, after my accident. It was, I'm alive. I'm grateful to be alive. I'm here for a reason. I had all this external gratitude, but on the inside, that's where when something happens like that, it was, the inside, why, like you had mentioned before, why, God, am I here? Why did you save me? And it wasn't necessarily, why did you save me? It was more, why didn't you let me die? Because that's how I felt afterwards. But again, it was that external gratitude. I didn't feel it on the inside. On the inside, what I saw was, here I am. I'm not whole. I'm not who I used to be. I just shoved my identity down, that self. When the doctor came in, and Dr. Katarenzik, and it was on, and I remember the day, it was on Mother's Day in May in 1998, and she came in and told me that I wouldn't ever have use of my feeling or movement in my arm again. Wow. And when that happened, that's where, how in a movie time stops, but that main character is still moving, kind of like Spider-Man. I always think of the Tobey Maguire, when the punches are flying by him and he's in the school and he's just looking at the punches as they're going by. And it was kind of that moment that time just stopped for me. And I told myself, I'm not going to play victim. I am not going to use my arm as an excuse. I am going to do everything that I did before. And I think that that was, looking back, I know that that was probably one of my biggest regrets. And I shouldn't say that, because doing that, it gave me that perseverance and determination to push myself forward physically, to learn how to, once I was able to get back up and start walking, when you're going from a wheelchair, not being able to walk at all, to using a crutch and then a cane, and then learning how to run again, and doing all the physical things that I was doing before. Because I was very adventurous. I was very, I was athletic. I did a lot of mountain biking. I was just an active 20-year-old. And I didn't want that life to change.
Mm-hmm.
But I didn't accept who I was. And I didn't accept where, what had happened. I was like, yeah, this is nothing. Nothing's going to change. And again, that was, I think, a great foundation of that perseverance and determination to push my way through what had happened, or work my way through what had happened. And a lot of those principles, after the financial collapse and losing everything, to be able to come back and be like, you know what, I did all of this after my accident. I learned how to rebuild, when I was changing careers and starting from the bottom again after losing everything. I saw that, and I used that perseverance from from my accident into changing, into not giving up.
Right.
But that never had that healing on the inside. It was still the I'm not worthy, I'm not whole, that feeling on the inside that happened. And then, when you lose everything, then you have the shame of a bankruptcy, the shame of a foreclosure. And that only really intensified the I'm not worthy. I'm not worthy of certain things in life. I'm not worthy of love. I'm not worthy of all the different blessings that God has given me.
I get it. Like, you feel like a failure in a sense, even though it's just part of life, there's ups and downs. But it's almost, although the traumatic situation with the motorcycle accident, it was almost still like a preparation for the future of the whole financial collapse. It was like, since and that was kind of like me. I went through childhood trauma and childhood abuse, and I was taken from the situation. So I was brought out of the trauma, but the trauma was never brought out of me. So same thing. Then I went through life and I felt, I didn't know my worth. I didn't know my value. So I, entertained and dated people that didn't know it either. I always knew love as a sacrifice, because that was the love I was brought in up. With abuse, it's love as a sacrifice. It's not love as a unconditional loving, what do you want to call it, loving home or loving household. And so same thing, that's what then you entertain, because you don't know the difference. But it was a blessing too, because now in my adult life, when I went through chaos and abuse, I knew then, in a sense, one aspect, I was a naive child, and one, I'm now an adult, to be able to make up adult decisions and mindful things. But that was like a preparation almost for the adult situation. I feel almost that your accident, although it took you steps back, it also prepared you for the mindset that you obviously didn't know with all the financial stuff.
Yeah, no, and that is you're 100% correct. That was more of that preparation to help get me through, those financial times of not giving up, and that determination that I had of climbing the ladder, of changing industries, not only careers but industries, and working my way up to the top of where I would in that field. But again, you have to start somewhere, and it was all that painstakingly, I'm failing at this, I'm failing at that, and not having that mindset of all of the lessons that have really been learning from I've learned from those trials that I had gone through those struggles. And sure, on one hand, it was that preparation, but then it was that internal part that didn't kick in until later that really did the changing uh, to match the mindset of that determination and perseverance at part of it.
Well, and I see too, like even with the financial part on your end, let's just say the second traumatic situation, we'll say the first one's the motorcycle, the second is the financial. Looking back, at least for myself, and I guess this is more of a question for you in a sense, but I kind of feel like even with the financial aspect with you, it wasn't that it was a situation or a traumatic thing. It was almost like a redirection, because now you're walking in the purpose and, in your mission with God and doing what you're supposed to be doing with your accident and speaking out to people and giving it, being the light to many people's darkness. And I'm sure whatever job that you were in before that financial collapse wasn't in that field. So yeah, as I say, God always provides, and here you are. You may not feel that you're fully there, or you're, maybe sometimes, like I always tell people, I feel like I'm lost because my whole life I was always like one step ahead of the game. I was always like, got that. I was very organized, OCD, had it, always making sure I had this. And I always wanted to finish everything yesterday versus today. Like that was who I was. And now after my second trauma, I am now in God's mission and plan and purpose. And there are days where I'm like, I don't, like, people will be like, who are you? What are you up to? I'm like, I don't even really know. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm just winging every day. It's crazy. It's just nuts. Like, I really am just like trusting God. And I will say it's been 2 years. Well, technically it's been 10 months almost 10 months, I should say, since my second trauma is now like done, but 2 years since I've been from them. And I mean, God has always provided, always. I'd be lying if I said I wasn't on the seat of my pants sometimes, but it's just, there's no reason to worry, because it's out of my control. And that's just what you have to learn, that. And it's hard, especially coming from someone that's OCD, structure,
Yeah, it is.
Yes, it's crazy, but it's part of the plan, I feel. Like
100%. It really is. And, it's when you're able to surrender and hand that control over, because
yes.
I felt the same way. I having had to want that control over everything that I'm trying to do. Even though I'm giving it to God, I was still trying to control it. And finally it just, you just have to give that control up and realize, things work out the way that God has planned. And, and that's something that being able to look back through those different situations, especially through the financial collapse and losing everything, and all the different steps that I had to take to change that. It was something that I had to go through. And at that time, it was the question, well, where are you, God? Why am I going through all this horrible stuff? Where are you? When he was right there with me. He was just waiting for me to finally give up to him.
Yes. Get rid of the ego. And, and it's crazy how there's things that happen that's exactly what happens. It's like, okay, you won again, and I mean, that's how I felt. Same thing. I would have everything organized. And like I said, just together, and same thing financially. I never was like financially hurting, and surprise, it's just, you go backwards to go forward, but it's because you have to go on a different route. The path isn't the one that you're going down. And it's amazing how the ego gets broken down, I guess, for better words, how it happens. And you almost have no other answer but laying it out there for God to handle, and you just roll with it. And
Yeah.
sure, it took a lot for me because, like I said, I was always together and had my stuff in line, and now I'm just like, I don't know what I'm doing. I can tell you my name. Is that okay? Like, that's how I feel most days. Like, I'm winging it.
It is. It is. Well, it's having that trust, and
Mhm.
something that wasn't there yesterday, and now it's here today.
Yes. Well,
And
what I learned too is I had a pastor once tell me that, well, not me in general, but just the audience said something in the nature of like, faith is not of the knowing, faith is of the trusting. You have to trust and give your trust in faith that the answer is going to come out for you of what it's supposed to be, instead of seeking the answer and wanting to know the answer and having that control, like you said. It's crazy because then I'm like, that's so true. Like, you have to just be lost. Just
well,
be lost out there and go with the flow.
and it's having that it's having that trust and
Mhm.
having that faith. And one of my favorite verses is Hebrews 11:1. Now faith is being sure of what you hope for and certain of what you do not see.
Mhm.
And
So true.
how do you believe in that? And that's the trust, and that's that is faith. So it's having that trust in God that, hey,
Mhm.
being sure of what you hope for and certain of what you do not see.
Yes. Yes. Absolutely, 100%. So you created Change Life, which I see you have it on your background there, and you did it to help others rewrite their stories. What does rewriting your story really mean to you?
Well, rewriting your story is, we get caught up in society, especially for me, through the different careers when I was in the real estate industry, being a realtor and in the mortgage industry, and then going into the IT industry. Were those stories really mine, or were there somebody else's? Having grown up in the real estate industry, it was easy to just go at and take that, be a part of it. Getting my real estate license when I was 18 and being a part of that throughout college and after college, uh, it was more easy. Was
Mhm.
that really what I should have been doing when I got after the financial collapse and adjusting into the IT industry? Um, was that, my story, or was that just, hey, there's good money in IT? I should
Mhm.
get into IT. And so I think within society, we get on a track of, I can make more money over here, I can do this. And eventually, that story of what we're chasing, when does that start controlling us, and when are we doing that, and we actually lose that purpose and fulfillment in our life?
Mhm.
We can look at all the different materialistic things that we can buy, we can have, and all of that is great. I'm not saying that's not great at all. I love all of it.
Right.
But is that going to bring us that true purpose and fulfillment? And I think that there's a lot of people that I talk to in their mid 30s and older, that they haven't, and they're like, what am I doing? I'm in a job, I'm in a career that I don't like. It's not what I want to do. It's not bringing me any purpose. It's not bringing me any fulfillment. So to really rewrite their story into what they want, and that might be, even if it's in that same career, it is just being that, as a narrative coach, practitioner, being able to help them find what they are wanting in their life. And that could just be, again, in that same career, they just want a different direction. They want more. Could be, in their personal life too. How often do we, um, how often do we neglect ourselves?
Yes. Mhm.
So it's been something, and then being able to reach out into the disability community too, that have gone through the trauma, or overall, I think that there's just a lot of people that don't have the right mindset, and they let their limiting beliefs of, I'm not worthy, I'm not enough, that really hold them back from
Mhm.
their from actually taking those steps and finding out what they truly want. Or they know what they truly want. It's just having the confidence and taking those first steps to be able to do that.
Absolutely. There's grief and there's love. Grief is love in a different form. And so a lot of times things we lose that we're grieving, not necessarily up individual, could be a job we loved that we didn't get. It could be we lost the car we wanted, or I had to sell my car because I had to put my son through college. Like whatever it is, a loss that we took for a sacrifice of something else or someone else, we seek that love in coherent, in conjunction with what we lost. So a lot of individuals, what I see doing is they're in something because they're grieving the sacrifice that they gave to be in that situation, and here they are they're seeking that love to fulfill that balance, that cup. For instance, a lot of people that they're workaholics, and it's like they crave that family life because they don't have a work and life balance, and you need that to function in life and to feel whole. You can't always be working, then you don't have your family, and you can't always be with your family because you need to work to pay your bills. So I see, as you said, I see that balance or that disbalance per se that people crave. Then you get into the situation of where, okay, now you're seeking that love, but is that love a desire? You sold your car, like I said, for instance, to pay for your son's college. Did you need that car? Like, was it a Porsche, whatever, or could you drive a Kia or something? A lot of people mistake love and desire as well. So sometimes it really is an internal thing that you have to do, because you're trying to understand, is this love or is this a desire? And is it something I'm grieving and trying to replace, or is it something that I need to fulfill myself and to feel whole for myself? So it's definitely an awesome thing that you're doing, because the people need that because they feel lost. They just focus on that grieving part of it or that desire part of it. But is it truly something needed, or is it something wanted? Is it something that's going to change you, or is it going to be a temporary thing? Because if you go after a desire, you're not filling your cup. You're just giving a temporary fix, and it's going to be old, and it's not going to fill the need. You can want that Porsche again, and you can get it again, but at the same time, is it just filling the fact that you had a Porsche, and then now 10 years from now, you're going to be like, oh, whatever. That's my 10-year-old Porsche. It's not going to be that new car anymore. A lot of people need direction with that because they don't see it that way. We're very logical thinkers in this world and in this society, and people don't see things from the whole, as I said in the beginning. People don't see things from the top aerial view. They see it just head on. That's where a lot of the miscommunication, misunderstanding for people and themselves, just knowing what they want and what they really need. What is one common limiting belief that you see holding people back, and what do you do to help them to get past it if in the Changed Life program?
One of the things that some of the most common limiting beliefs that I have, or that my clients have had, is that I'm not worthy, that I'm not good enough, that what if, there's a lot of what ifs. What if this happens? What if that happens? And unlike, within narrative coaching and following the ICF policies, the International Coaching Federation policies, I don't tell them. I don't give them my opinion. That's not part of my coaching, being a narrative coach. I'm just helping them discover through questions what they already know. So I think that everyone knows. Everyone knows. Maybe it's in the back of their head, their subconscious, but they know, and to be able to bring that out from them, that's where my coaching comes in play. So it's not my opinion. It's not me telling them you need to do this.
Right.
No,
Self-discovery.
my life and my choices do not add up to being able to
Yeah.
give some of that. But I think that even but through my experiences, though, my life experiences, and whether it is from the motorcycle accident and losing an arm and going through all of that part, losing my identity, not only losing my identity, and then with the financial collapse and losing my identity even more, and the confidence lost, even more confidence, whatever I had left. So the life experiences that I've gone through, I understand and can relate to a lot of people that have gone through a lot of different traumas or their own experiences. And that's where I believe my ability and connection with others really helps out. So even though that they're the ones that are answering the questions, through the whole coaching, it is the discovery phase. That's the only agenda that I have.
Yes.
When we get into the regular sessions, that's where the client, they have the agenda, and we just and I just work with them with that agenda, just by asking them questions and using some different tools that I have to help them. But through my speaking, it's being able to reach out and share my story, and more of that encouragement, and realize, letting people know that all of the different experiences that you have in life doesn't make you, doesn't, it's still your choice and where you want to go. These are lessons that you're learning, that you have gone through, and there's a positive side to that, and it's all in how you frame them and having that right mindset. And so to be able to help people either through speaking or coaching, it's something.
I agree. I am a certified life coach as well. And one thing I know very well is with my men clients, if it is something in the same nature as you, where they lost a limb of some sort or have something that is holding them back of restriction to provide in a certain way, if that's their mindset, they feel that they are worthless, because men were raised, from the generation that they were raised from, their worthiness was based upon what they could provide and what they could do. And that's the mindset of most men, which is not the truth at all. But unfortunately, that was the generation that raised all of us, and the women then knew. That's where then you had women that knew that good men out there, they're going to give. Well, not everybody's a giver too. Some of them are takers. All they know is how to take and be greedy. And so I could totally see on your aspect, as far as the, self-worth was of a huge concern, because losing your arm, you automatically think that you're worthless. It's not the case, but going back to what you had just stated, with it being mental, life in general is a mental game. And once you get your mentality right in seeking the positivity of things, that's where you've conquered the life challenge. Because every day something happens. That's just life. There is always going to be a burden of some sort, whether it's financial, spiritual, physical.
Yeah.
If you seek the blessing through it, as you had stated, if you seek the positivity and the blessings of whatever it is that happened, you're ahead of the game. Because if you focus on the situation and what actually occurred, on the burden of it, you'll get lost. Life will just take you under. It's like swimming. Everybody's trying to stay afloat. And if you focus on everything that could take you down, eventually you're just going to go down, because that's what you're focusing on. You're focusing on something that had already happened, but you got to look ahead. You're trying to get out. You're trying to seek the other side. So if you start counting blessings instead of burdens, it's a whole new ballgame. That becomes your steering wheel to your life. I tell people, say you are what you eat. And it's the same way with the mind. If you keep feeding your mind negative things, that's all you have to disperse is negativity. It shows in your character, it shows in your behavior, because all you're doing is telling your mind what you can't do, what you won't do, what you're not going to do, how horrible it is, and whatever. But if you start feeding your mind positivity and only positivity, that's all your mind has to disperse. The positive aspects of the situations that are going on in everyday life, because you'll lose yourself in the negativity and focusing on every bad thing that goes on. Life is life. We're all in a box trying to survive, basically. If something's going to go wrong. How many times have you planned a wedding and something goes wrong? But you got to keep moving. And half the battle of survival is mental. Putting that mind in that right mindset. I literally just on a podcast I did recently, I said to the gentleman, I said, you can have the biggest muscles in the world, but if your mind is not right, you're weak. Because
100%.
Your mental knowledge of how wonderful you really are. We're not supposed to be perfect.
I think, and that's, and that was probably one of the things is that word perfect. Mm-hmm. Because what is perfect? People try and chase a perfect life. They try and chase a perfect this, a perfect that. And it's like, what does perfect mean? Because there's not anything that was perfect. The one thing that was perfect was what? Jesus. And that the only standard. Other than that, I used to say, well, this isn't this is the perfect job. If I just get this is going to be perfect. If I date this woman, this is going to be perfect. This, and it's like, well, especially when you're a perfectionist, what is that? Because it's something that you chase and you're always going to be disappointed because nothing is ever perfect.
No.
And, hey, how many times growing up it was practice till you're perfect, practice till it's perfect. And so there's always this perfection aspect of it. And I think that is just something that we chase. And if we lose that word perfect, and because again, what is perfect?
Yes. And the human nature in general, we're creatures of habit. So the problem, again, going back to how we were raised, as I had stated earlier about the men, we were also raised, men and women, to get more, do more, push yourself more. Okay, you reached that goal. Well, very well in the mortgage industry, in the real estate industry. All right, Jerry, you got that goal. Well, now it's quadruple this goal. And you're like, what the heck? I was literally out here selling my soul for the goal that I just hit. And you're like, what the heck? And that becomes a habitual way of living. So you're always seeking perfection, and there really is no perfection. That's the evilness of life, is they always want you to think that there's more. Mm-hmm. People don't realize is going through trauma and going through different things in life, catastrophic or not, you have to make a lifestyle change. You can't just, a drug addict doesn't just wake up and not do the drug one day and now they're not a drug addict anymore. Same with someone that has trauma and PTSD or even worthiness. I could wake up and feed myself with all these affirmations and say, oh, I had such a wonderful day because I am wonderful. I am beautiful. But tomorrow I'll wake up and I'll feel like a piece of garbage. An affirmation is nothing until you know it in your soul and you make it a lifestyle, make it reality.
Yeah.
And you're not going to make reality chasing a perfection world, because what is perfection? Nothing. None of us. And that's where opinions and assumptions and your two senses they don't mean anything, because you may think that the color yellow is beautiful, and I may think it's god awful ugly because mustard tastes disgusting. Like, that's two different opinions, And once you get out of that subconscious mind and you go into the conscious mind, you realize, wow, everything I thought, me being worthless, me losing my arm, me whatever it is, those are just opinions and assumptions of what you once saw in someone else or something, or maybe a professional athlete lost their arm and now they can't play in the Super Bowl. I don't know, I'm making up something clearly. Those are all assumptions. They don't make you, they don't perfect you. And once you get out of that subconscious mindset and get into the conscious mindset of, wait a minute, I am perfect. I am imperfectly perfect in my own imperfectionist way. Once you realize that, it's crazy, because it's almost like God removes all the things that weren't the authentic you, that were part of that illusion of perfection. And then once you start realizing in the conscious mind, like, wait a minute, I am imperfectly perfect, and what's for me will attract me and become part of me. It's really crazy. It's like a magnet. It's like all these people, all these things, they just come towards you and gravitate towards you because you're in your authentic self, and you don't have to prove anything. You don't have to prove that your arm is not usable. I don't have to prove that I'm worthy because someone thought I was worthless. These people know. They know your value because they are on your level and they're in their authentic self as well. Once you see that, it's a whole different world.
And that's something that was for me, finding my authentic self, and that I try and let people bring out, hey, who are you authentically? Mm-hmm. And you had mentioned this also, it's accepting yourself for who you are. And that was probably one of my biggest things was, the mirror, not being able to look at myself in my eyes and smile at myself because of, I like to say, the limiting beliefs that we have. I'm not worthy. I'm not this. I'm not that. I'm not enough. And it was that acceptance. And okay, do you really love yourself? And I think that accepting yourself is that loving yourself. Mm-hmm. And when you become authentic, you are loving yourself for who you are. Now, again, I think that there's a whole lot of other aspects to it, but that is, a big base of it. If maybe loving yourself means, all right, well, I want to get in shape. That's a good transformation. Loving yourself is not only accepting yourself, but, growing, that's part of the growth. That's part of, being authentic. And, you need to, for me, it was that accepting and being authentic with myself. So,
well, one thing too is all of us are here with a gift. We don't know what the gift is. That's part of the mystery of life, right? And so sometimes things that clearly your gift isn't to do with your arm. It doesn't have to do with you lifting something or building something, but I guarantee you your gift is something with your mind or your mindset or your voice or something in that nature, because you lived through something that even with the blood loss alone, you could be at vegetative state. You know what I'm saying? You came back miraculously. So clearly there is some sort of gift within your mind, your voice, that's living out your purpose. You look at it as a downfall. You can't use your arm, but your arm is not part of your gift. And maybe that actually needed to happen for you to discover your gift, because maybe you were using your arm in ways where it's like, hey, hold on, your gift isn't to build stuff. Like, let me take that arm usage away, and now you have to focus on, you know what I'm saying? You don't know. Sometimes it's part of like the plan.
I agree with you. It is that, everyone has a gift. Everyone has a story. Everyone has something that they've gone through, and finding that gift of where what they can offer. It was one of the things that my grandparents always said, we're not here on earth for ourselves. It's what
No.
we can do for others. And
Hmm.
with everyone that has a story, they're able to, maybe it's not, doing a podcast or being a speaker, but you can help other people in other
Yes.
ways. And
Yes.
it's really being able to help others. And yeah, we all have a gift.
We do, 100%. And, it's funny because I always was a talker. I could walk in a room and I could talk to anybody. I really can. Like, I've just always been that kind of person. I could adapt to wherever I am. I mean, I've spoken in front of thousands of people. Like, I never had any issue talking to individuals. My work was in operations and moving and handling things, but I never had a problem talking to individuals. And now it's funny because here I went through all my adult trauma. I am a licensed esthetician. I am a licensed cosmetologist. I could do hair. I could work all day using my hands and my arms. And I keep telling people, I'm like, I don't want to do that. My mission is something with my voice. Like I said, podcasting or something. There was one day I was literally, and I should ask you if you've ever had these like synchronicities or like these, I call them come to Jesus moments. I was praying to God and I was like, God, show me what I'm supposed to do. My heart and my passion, I want to be authentic. And it's not really like to do hair and that anymore. I don't want to stand on my legs all day. I'm tired of doing that work and working basically like a mule. Like it's hard work being, a hairstylist. People don't realize that, but it really is. You're standing on your feet all day long. You are an unpaid therapist. You hear everybody's stories, everybody's issues, and you have to suppress that stuff. I mean, there's sad things that people tell you about themselves and things that they go through. Like, I don't want to go back to that. I know my authentic self and my heart is to talk to people and just listen to people. So many people are so fast to judge and assume and just ridicule and demean and be so evil. And it's like, some people just need someone to listen to them. Everyone wants to judge and tell everyone what they would do. Well, some people don't want to hear what you want to do. They just want to vent and say what's on their mind. You just have to be nice. You just have to be kind. And some people they're craving to just get something off their chest. And since they don't know you, who are you going to go tell? You know what I mean? So
It's that much easier.
Right? Exactly. They're just like, and you're like, all right, yeah. And, and as crazy as it is, I feel like a lot of my trauma throughout my life, I feel like I was put through that stuff because I can relate to half of these people. Like, I'm like, oh yeah, I know that. After my trauma, I was praying, God, like, what am I supposed to do? You at least just like show me a sign, like do something. So in the morning, I woke up this one day and I started scrolling TikTok. And there was a girl on there and she was like reading this poem and it was called Holes. And at the end of the poem, it said something in the nature of like, now that I saved you, look around, see all these holes. They're all filled with darkness. Go and put your light on there and save people from the darkness. That was basically the purpose of the poem. So I read that and I was like, wow, it really, really like resonated with me. So I even took a screenshot of it and I sent it to my printer, and who prints, right, anymore? Something resonated with that. So I printed it out. And so then 2-3 hours later, I go to church because when I was on TikTok, it was like 6 a.m. So now here it is, 9 o'clock, and I go to church. And my pastor stands up there. He's like, I saw something. I think it's really going to resonate with a lot of you. And it's this poem called Holes. I almost died. I was like,
wow.
What? And so then I'm like, that was a sign. That was a total sign. Like, I just had prayed for this like last night. Like, okay, I need to make sure that I help people out of the darkness. So I got that sign, right? So now that was like over a year ago. So now every time I pray all the time, I meditate, I always have one-on-one times. I'll read the Bible. I'll open it to a certain, just whatever page and whatever, passage is there. I'll try to like think like, how does this resonate with me today? And sure enough, like 3 weeks ago, I was running on a trail and I put on meditation music, and normally I run to rock and roll or dance music, something to get me going. I'm just going to do like a quick like jog run type thing. And so I was like in my moment, I'm like, all right, God, I still feel lost. Maybe I'm not supposed to know my purpose or my plan. I'm not really sure, but like, is this podcast stuff like for me? Like, what should I be doing? When I was like all in my moment, and I kid you not, I'm like walking on this trail and this guy goes past me, like coming the other direction, because it's basically a two-way, like one goes this way, comes this way. And I hear my name, I hear like Kerie, and I'm like, what the heck? And he like stops, he like turns his bike, and then he comes by me, he's like, Kerie? And I like looked at him and I was like, I think that's this guy Bob. Like I like said that in my head, and I was like, hey, and he's like, you don't know who I am, do you? I'm like, no, I don't. He's like, it's Bob. And I'm like, oh, hey, Bob. So now I'm like, well, maybe I must know him if I knew that may be his name. And he was just like, how have you been? I'm like, good. And then he's like asking me about my daughter. And then he asked me about my older daughter. I don't have an older daughter. So now I'm like, okay, he thinks I'm somebody else, right? But how ironic that like I thought his name was Bob and then he knew my name, Kerie. And so he's like, hey, I love your voice. You should really use your voice. I'm like, all right, thanks, Bob. But I swear, I like got in the car, I called my sister, I was like, I just had one of those like Matrix crazy freaking weird things happen to me. I'm like, I literally was in my moment, like praying, what is my purpose? What's my plan? And this random guy is like talking to me and telling me he loves my voice. I'm like, my voice isn't anything special, man. But I mean, I swear it was like meant to be, like I was supposed to like be told that. It was just ironic. And so I don't know if you have any of those like situations where synchronicities or just random like words that really resonate with you after seeking for whatever answer.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have like a lot of those.
I would have to say that probably where I'm at right now is where I probably should have been, 27 years ago after my accident. Being a speaker and the coaching wasn't out really 27 years ago, or not as popular as it is now. So that had always been on the back of my mind, and to try and bring that out. And I think that I don't have any, you have, that is a great a great revelation, for you, and for you to discover, hey, I need to use my voice. And I think that is awesome. I would have to say that there has been, over the last few years, probably 4 years, that there's been a lot of different things like that also. And whether it's been from social media or people that I know of, you need to get out there and tell your story. You need to do this. You need to do that. And it was more the reaffirming. And that was part of the, I think, taking those steps.
Yes.
We have those steps that we need to take. And what's that? Because I always used to say, after my accident, all right, God, here I am. I'm waiting for the opportunities. If God wants to use me, hey, I'm open. But where was my part on that faith and actually trying to find it? What was I doing to actually pursue it and to put it in place? If you're waiting for something, you can wait for the rest of your life. But if you don't take those first steps, if you don't take any action to actually try and do that, that nothing's going to happen. And it's funny because when I got back into mortgages probably about 4 or 5 years ago, I missed it. I don't know. It was one of those things that I should get back into this, do it part-time on the side, just to, take some time and reestablish myself in that industry. And I'm not in, doing that right now. I let my license go, but because of that, and what, for me getting back in there and taking those steps, because I had just finished 75 hard, and I'm like, all right, I'm ready to change. I'm ready for growth. I'm just ready to put myself out there. I am ready for anything. And so really, by putting myself out there, and this is what really also helped me look back and see the different steps. But by doing that, I started online, hey, open houses with Jarrett, and I'd go around to open houses in the Minneapolis area, my area, and meet with realtors and be like, hey, do you want to do a little blurb? This is something to help build your content. That's not that going to say that it's going to sell your house or anything like that, but it helps awareness for you and builds that visibility.
Right.
Well, by me doing that, I got to know a lot of different realtors, but I also got to meet one realtor that um, I had a wonderful talk with and telling her about them about my, because it was a couple, and telling them about my arm device that I created. And I'm like, I don't know where the next steps are to take it. Oh, you should contact this company, ILT Academy, so I contact them, and they're a free cohort for entrepreneurs with ideas. Maybe it's a product, an app, whatever it might be, just to take it to that next step. Because I'm like, all right, I had this because I had this product. I had this idea, 3D printed it out, and had a rough example of it. Now, what can I do? Well, all of a sudden, by putting myself out there, I meet these people. I get involved with ILT Academy, and well, this actually goes into answering your question. It comes back. Joined the ILT Academy, and we did the 5 whys. I know Tony Robinson did that back in the early 90s of digging down. Well, why does this product help people? Why? And for me,
Right.
when I was originally, I'm like, this is perfect because you're able to go kayaking, you're able to go paddle boarding, you're able to do all these different things. And it was why? Well, because you only have one arm, and this allows you to do it. But why? Well, start digging down those 5 whys, 6 whys, or however many whys we actually dug down into. It was because you're able to build that confidence. You're able to build that inside. You're doing something that you've never tried before. You thought that you weren't going to be able to do this because of your limitations, and now you can. And why does this help this out? It helps it out because of your mindset. It helps it out because of you and your worth, and, building up what you can do.
Yes.
And by digging down into that and even further into a different device, it helped me realize, because people are struggling, people are hurting, and that's where it came out into my story of, maybe this arm device isn't right for the moment right now, but down the road it could be. But, something by sharing my story and my why of why this is important, how this has changed in your mindset, and not giving up and being able to do that. That was probably one of my biggest aha moments, or, your moment that you had for speaking and meeting.
Yeah.
It was my moment of, okay, well, now I know what I need to do. That's where that was probably my biggest shift, of having this arm device and then transitioning into, okay, I know that this would help on one aspect, but what about all the other aspects with the mind, and how much more powerful a story can be, right? That's behind it, and to be able to share that and help
Well, you
people.
just gave like overall hope. You give hope to people that are in that same situation. And it takes people out of the whole comfort zone. We're all creatures of habit. We all love the comfort. We want to go back to it. Probably why you went back to mortgage lending, because it was a comfort zone for you. But showing people that there's more to life than a limb, whatever. There's more purpose. So you're giving hope in general, just to somebody that's starting out from getting in that motorcycle accident in their 20s. And that's the best blessing, is showing people again the light into such a dark time.
It is. Yeah.
What would you say to someone listening right now who feels broken or worthless or defined by something that they're experiencing?
Don't believe the lies that you tell yourself.
It's true. That's a good one. It's very true. When people walk away from hearing your story, or even someone that you're working with, what do you hope most that they carry away with them?
I want them to know that they have the power to change, that they are not limited for where they're at in life, that their circumstances, anything that they have gone through, does not define them. It is, there's so much more, and it's taking that step. It's putting yourself out there, getting uncomfortable, and challenging yourself.
Mm-hmm. As you said, people ask why, why me? Why did this happen to me? And really the why should be a what, and it should be, well, what's my plan, God? Like, what, there's a reason that I'm still here. There's a bigger purpose for me, and what is it?
And that's something that I ask when, we have these, we're in different seasons in life and we don't understand why we're going through something. It's, what lesson am I supposed to be learning right now?
Right.
I'm going through this for a reason. What am I supposed to be learning during this time? Not saying why is this happening, but like you had mentioned, that what am I supposed to be learning through this? And when you change that and reframe, when you change that mindset, when you reframe that thought, you actually look at things differently.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And again, because it all begins with the mind. The mind really is a steering wheel to it all, to everything. If you could state your website, spell it out for those who are listening. So if anyone wants to get a hold of you or get in contact with you and go through your changed life process and work with you, tell them like how they can contact you if they're interested in even reaching out, and even, hey, maybe they might even have the same similar story as you and just need advice for their arm or whatever. Their situation.
It's changed, CHANGED hyphen life, as done behind my head, .com. And it's my website, but I'm also throughout the different social medias, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, that you can find me on. And I can send you over my QR code if you want that also, with my different contact information. But yeah, change.
Perfect. And one last question to close out here.
Yeah.
If you could go back to that person laying in the hospital bed after your accident, what would you whisper in his ear right now?
You're worthy.
Awesome. I love that. And it's so true. Everyone is worth it. You are so worth the love. You are so loved. You are amazing. And anyone that is sitting out there wondering or letting someone hold their worth in their hands, the worth is in your own hands and in your mind and in your heart. And every single person out there is so worthy of love. And what better way to know that our biggest creator loves us so much unconditionally and sees our worth is unimaginable.
Yeah.
It truly, truly is. So
that is true.
Thank you so much, Jarrett. It was such a pleasure sitting with you and talking with you today. And most importantly, your time. As we all know, time is of value, and you are so worth all the time. And I'm sure that anyone out there that is going through something of the similar sorts as you is so appreciative as well, because that's our purpose out here, is to state our story and let everyone know that you're not alone. It may be dark, you may not be able to see, but as my show is called Bottoms Up, it's because being at rock bottom or at the bottom, whatever words you want to say, it's really the best place to be, even though you think it's the worst, because here's the thing, once you're at the bottom, there's only one way, and that's up. And
That's right.
and our Savior is at the highest part, looking and waiting for us to go up, So
That's
yes,
right.
that's exactly.
Well, and thank you, Kerie, for
Thank you.
having me on. And this has been wonderful. It has been great talking with you. And no, I really appreciate this. So thank you.
Absolutely. Me too. Thanks so much. You take care.
Thank you. You
Thanks,
too.
Jarrett. Bye.
Bye.
Just a reminder, if you haven't yet, my book is for sale on Amazon. Sorry, Satan, The Souls for the Savior. What an incredible reminder of Jarrett's journey. And no matter what life takes us from, there is always something left to rebuild with. His story shows us that resilience isn't about never failing. It's about rising again and rewriting the narrative and choosing to see ourselves not as broken, but becoming. If Jarrett's message spoke to you today, I encourage you that you reflect on the story that you're telling yourself and ask, is it holding you back or helping you move forward? Thank you for joining me in this powerful conversation. Be sure to connect with Jarrett at change-life.com and follow his journey on social media. And as always, remember, your story matters, and the way you choose to tell it can change everything. Until next time, keep walking in courage, keep living in authenticity, and never forget, you are not broken, you're becoming. See you again next time on Bottoms Up.